the various literatures being shared to us, the various authors which who have done a large survey on these reflector array, work on these reflector array antennas. This is the very basic concept what we shall focus now. When we consider the case of here, this paper provides us various structures which will give a different phase ranges, various phase variations, and the corresponding bandwidth. So here the table states what type of structure provides what type of phase variation and the corresponding bandwidth. Let us get into detail with respect to the phase variation. So here this picture says, in this first picture, we have a square antenna, a square patch. So a reflector array which is constructed using square patch. So in this square patch, we have just one dimension. We all know that the square depends on one parameter, which is the size of the square, side of square. And that is the only parameter which can be varied to obtain the phase variation. So this we call as the degree of freedom. So varying the single parameter in the square element provides us a phase range which is of lesser value. And if we go instead of square patch for a rectangular patch, the next picture shows us a rectangular patch. So there, in the case of rectangular patches, we are aware that we have two sides. The length and breadth of the rectangular patch. So any of these can be varied. Here the degree of freedom increases. So when we have a variation, an increase in the degree of freedom, we'll be able to vary it to a very large extent, and we'll be able to obtain the increased phase range. That's what we discussed in our previous slide. This is where we need to focus on. So in the case of this rectangular patch, we obtain a 338-degree of phase variation. And when you look at the slope of this phase curve, that slope is 0.38 degree per micrometer change. And when we come for the next category, next picture, which is a dipole, a thin dipole. Here the thin dipole, we can maintain the width of the dipole and we can vary the length of the dipole, and thereby we shall obtain a different phase variation. And in the case of when you look at the S curve obtained for the thin dipole, the phase slope is very large. Compared with the rectangular patch, the phase slope of this thin dipole is 0.87 degree per micrometer. But that provides us an increased phase range, 350 degree. But this reduced phase slope will give us a lower bandwidth. So when we see to the case of this table, the thin dipole provides us 1.1% bandwidth, but phase range is 350 degree, whereas the rectangular patch gives us 2.6% bandwidth, the phase range is 338 degree. So because of the slope, increased slope in the thin dipole, the bandwidth offered by the dipole is less. So these are the points which we need to understand, which we need to take care in designing our reflector array antenna elements. So if we combine both the cases, a rectangular patch with a thin dipole, there we have this loaded, we call it as stub loaded element. So in such stub loaded elements, you can see that the slope is much reduced. It is 0.08 degree per micrometer, and the phase range was also increased to 360 degrees. So this is how we need to work. We need to obtain an increased bandwidth also, and we need to obtain an increased phase range also. In such a manner, our element of the reflector array should be designed. Now, similar variations can be done in our reflector array antennas. The one variation is this one with a slot. The other variation is with, we call this as eye dipole structure, or we can also call it as dog bone structure. So these structures provide us different phase variations and different slopes, thereby different bandwidths. So this is how we need to concentrate on the design of a reflector array. We need to choose our element in such a manner our objective is attained. The next design aspect of the reflector array antennas is this phase enhancements method. So there are various phase enhancements methods. Just like the previous slide we saw, we can enhance the phase through various ways, and such ways are several papers have been proved through literatures. And we have fractal structures, which is called as Minkowski ring, one particular fractal structure called as Minkowski ring. We can have double rings that will improve the phase variation provided by the element. We can have, in the case of the spiral phase resonators, these are circularly polarized reflector array antennas where the inductive loading varies the phase provided by these elements. And the second picture is the phoenix cells, where the cell will be varied in such a manner that the degree of freedom is increased. So just to increase the degree of freedom, these phoenix cells are being used. We shall see them in detail in our further slides. So coming to this first case of fractal elements, the author of this particular paper, they have started the design with a single substrate, added a air layer, a foam layer between this ground and the substrate so that the bandwidth can be improved. The phase range can also be improved. And in this fractal structure, they started the design with a simple rings. You can see in the graph being provided, the first structure, the SR, that is nothing but the square rings. So with dual square ring, they achieved a result which is very less, which is nothing but the first S curve, what is being shown in the picture. And the phase range obtained was very less with the square ring structure. And the outer square ring alone was modified to a certain extent, resulting in a fractal element. And that single fractal structure provided as that is represented by MSR. That is nothing but the Minkowski square ring. And that provided us an increased phase variation, which is our second phase curve. When we come to the next one, they made both the rings as fractal structures. So the Minkowski ring was implemented as a dual structure, concentric element, and that provided us an increased phase range of 397 degrees. So this is how we obtain the phase increase variation being increased in our designs. And this is the gain and gain versus frequency plots of that particular design, what is being made. They've obtained 19.1 dBi gain, and look at the bandwidth, it is 18.6% bandwidth. So these fractal elements are a solution for obtaining increased bandwidth too. And this is another paper which discusses about how to obtain a circularly polarized pencil beam. And here they have actually concentrated on converting a linearly polarized wave into a circularly polarized wave. They've actually converted this wave polarization. And for that purpose, they have used this particular element structure, which is in 2 layers. So the upper layer has a smaller element and the down layer has a larger element. And both these dielectrics are the same material, the same dielectric constant is there. And the thickness of the dielectric material is also very small, just 2 mm size is being used for this purpose. They have obtained a phase range of 500 degrees over varied frequency ranges. So this specifies us what is the bandwidth being offered by the particular reflector array. So for converting this process, the linear wave into a circularly polarized wave, how they achieve is by placing this feed. The feed, what they use is a linearly polarized one. So this linearly polarized feed is being placed in the diagonal manner. So this one half of the reflector array elements in the x direction, if they have a phase variation of phi, the other part of it, the one which is in the y variation, y direction changes of the aperture, that will be providing a phase variation of phi plus pi by 2. That is orthogonally polarized wave. So in such a manner, the feed is being placed here. So this will convert the linearly polarized wave from the feed into a circularly polarized wave, and they've achieved a bandwidth of 20% and gain of 19.4 dBi with just 81 elements. You have to take care of this one. Just with 81 elements, they've achieved 19.4 dBi out of this reflector array. And these reflector arrays can also be constructed using various materials, different kinds of materials. So for terahertz operation, we are very much aware that we'll be in need of graphene structures. So these graphene structures can replace the other metal structures which are being used in the terahertz application. So we all know that we can use a gold patch too for such applications. So instead of gold patch, if you are going to use the graphene material, that will provide us a better result, which I'll show in the further slide. So when we take the case of graphene, how does this realize the phase variation and required for the reflector array cases? We know that the complex conductivity of the graphene varies with respect to the biasing what we provide to the graphene. The voltage variation what we provide to the graphene material changes the inductive nature of the graphene. So this graph provides us how the conductive nature of the complex conductivity of the graphene varies. The blue line refers as the inductive behavior of the graphene over a wide range of frequency in terahertz range. So by this variation, we shall see here, we can obtain a S-curve with reduced phase variation with a reduced slope. If we are going to use this graph, actually compares, the first graph actually compares the performance of the gold with respect to the graphene. The same graphene results are obtained with graphene also, but if it is the case of graphene, that can be achieved with just a 14 micrometer cell size. But if we take the case of gold patch, we'll be in need of 100.8 micrometer cell size. That detail is provided in the picture itself. So instead of having a gold patch at that particular frequency, the same result can be obtained using graphene also with a very small size structure. So it is better to have a graphene based reflector array in the terahertz applications. And in the case of bandwidth variations, we all know that the microstrip elements, they limit the bandwidth of the reflector array. In addition to that, what is the spacing being provided between the array elements? That also influences the reflector array bandwidth. And the feed which is being used in our application, that decides the antenna bandwidth. And in addition to that, what is the spatial phase delay? So how far the source is available, what is the path delay what we have between the rays, where the incident waves. So all these decides, all these limits the reflector array bandwidth. So this bandwidth has to be enhanced. So for enhancing this bandwidth offered by the reflector array antennas, we have various options. One is the stack layers. You can have stack layers, as in the last picture where we see various layers of dielectric materials can be added along with the conductors, and this will be providing us a better bandwidth, stack layers. But the problem with stack layers is implementation. When we mount it, when we test it, the fabrication, the mounting errors, the testing, fabricating, the testing errors, all these alignment errors, all these will cause a little loss to our performance. Fractal elements can be utilized, as we have seen in our previous slide. We can have Phoenix elements, true time delay lines. True time delay lines are nothing but those are inductive structures added to our element, which will be of varying length. So based on the varying length, the true time delay lines will provide us a different phase variation. And we can have phase delay lines. These are similar to true time delay lines. Only difference is they are circularly varying. As in this first picture, the delay line element, the inductive microstrip patch, that varies in a circular fashion. And we can have sub-wavelength elements. Sub-wavelength in the sense, generally we design our elements based on lambda by 2 size. The operating wavelength divided by 2, that will be the size of our elements being used in reflect arrays. If we reduce this size as lambda naught by 3, as lambda naught by 5, those we call as the sub-wavelength elements. So using such elements, we can have more number of antenna elements stacked within the minimum small size aperture. That will provide us a better bandwidth too. This is one example of such a two-time delay line, which is being compactly placed so that you can have more number of, you can have increased electrical length by having such structure. So which we call as meander lines. So this paper provides us a good discussion about the usage of meander lines. So the authors of this particular paper, they have started their working with square rings. And in the case of square rings, they analyzed how much is the performance being obtained. Then they varied the squaring, the electrical length, by adding the two-time delay lines, by increasing the electrical length of it. They had different variations in that increased length. So these meander lines, if you see in the center structure, they've used 6 lines on the outer ring and 4 lines in the inner ring. And for the last structure, they are using 4 in the outer, 2 in the inner. At the final structure, as seen as a bigger picture, they have used 8 at the outside, 6 at the inside. So these variations they made, and they analyze how much is the phase range being produced. So this is the graph which shows us how is the phase varying with respect to the number of the meandroline structure they developed. So the phase, for the case of 4 units outside and 2 units inside, the black line refers to the phase range, which is lesser. It is very evident from the picture itself that is a lesser phase range.